I might be completely over-engineering this test, but yeah, let's give it a go. Hey guys, I am super excited because today I'm going to talk about a very special webcam, OBSBOT Tiny 4K. It's been pointed out that I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, and the correct pronunciation is OBSBOT. And I've been waiting for the release of this webcam for a couple of reasons, and 4K isn't one of them. If you follow me for some time, you know that I occasionally do live streams, and I switched to OBSBOT Tiny ever since I got the original model. Be interested in that. It's gonna be a video about the original review there. But now that I have a 4K version, I'm definitely going to upgrade to that, because the ability to have the camera that tracks your movement, like that, and you never go out of the frame, it's great, especially if you're live streaming and your attention is elsewhere. But as much as I appreciated the convenience of it, there was one thing I really wanted for the OBSBOT Tiny feature, and they fixed it. So, let's start with a bit of a rant about unboxing. I don't know what they were thinking. I guess the main priority was to impress anyone doing unboxing videos, because this camera came in a cardboard box marked with OBSBOT, stamps on it, inside which I found a cardboard sleeve with OBSBOT product pictures, inside which, or wrapped around, another cardboard box from OBSBOT, obviously. And inside that, there was a carry case. I mean, this is a webcam, it's not an action cam, it's not something I'm gonna just randomly grab, put it into a case and take it camping. Come on, OBSBOT people, it's a webcam. You can give me a slightly more environmental friendly box and knock a $10 or $20 off the price. That will be equally impressive. Especially that I can't use that nice zipped up pouch for anything else, because it has already molding for the camera itself. As the 4K version of the OBSBOT Tiny comes with the same footprint, well, then all the accessories are the same. And, well, it's not a bad thing, because the magnetic stand, the monitor stand, works really well and I like it, so there's no point of changing that. Inside the box you will also find two charging cables, one USB Type-C to USB Type-C, this time with a small adapter to USB Type-A, which is really nice and much appreciated, and that weird DC jack that you also can use if you're using like very old hardware. I can't really imagine you streaming 4K on old hardware, so, well, it's a bonus. For the most part, everything is the same. You're getting a very similar product to the original camera. You've got a very famous and very good, by the way, motion tracking with ability to use gestures to change different settings on your webcam. But the biggest improvement advertised by the company is obviously scaled up resolution to 4K. But it's not what I'm excited about. This webcam also comes with a bigger and improved sensor, which means apart from the 4K resolution, you're gonna have a much better image. Thanks to face focus and face exposure, the color is really nice, saturated, and, well, my face is never overexposed. The same applies to colors. I don't see washed out colors like I did on my Logitech or sometimes on the previous generation camera, and overall video quality is so much better. And here comes the kicker. Now the webcam has the ability to stream 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is a dream come true, because finally all my gear has the same frame rate. And I've been gunning to get my live streams up to 60 frames per second, because it is kind of a standard and it is a nice fluidity of movement. But if you're not streaming yourself and you don't mind dropping down to 30 frames per second, then you can switch to 4K to get that extra resolution. And this is where the zoom in gesture, like this, comes in handy. Because unlike previously, you're not going to lose that much detail on the digital zoom, and thanks to the 4K, the image, the final frame that you're going to get is still pretty decent. It's going to be around 1080p, so, well, nothing to smirk at. Let's zoom out. Another strong point of this webcam is the audio. Thanks to the array of microphones and noise cancellation, the actual audio or my voice coming through the camera sounds really nice. And I've happened to have a couple of live streams with using this camera for the audio, and I can't remember anyone complaining about the quality, so kudos for that. It's equally good as the previous model. Obviously, one of the most convenient features is the ability to track you wherever you are. And that doesn't just mean the face, because the camera can track entire body. So if you're streaming from far away, then you can stand up, go further away from the camera, and you'll still be in the picture, no matter how far and how fast you move. Let's get back to my seat. Where the camera doesn't perform well, especially if you have a busy background like I do, are the gestures. Which means that if you're in the middle of business conversation or work meeting, you probably don't want to do this constantly to kind of get the camera working. Same goes for a zoom in. So if you want to avoid looking like a doofus on a camera during your business meeting, I'd strongly recommend you to fish out a little bit more and get a dedicated remote control from OBSBOT as well. That way you'll be able to quickly change different presets. You can also do it with the associated app on the computer, so no worries there if you don't want to spend that extra money. But yeah, as much as the gestures are impressive and you know it's a good show off to your friends and family, in a more professional manner, probably I wouldn't recommend that. Also new comparing to the old model is the ability to use a face focus or autofocus. Now face focus, as the name suggests, it will try to focus your camera on the face, and for the most part it works really great. But if you disable it, you'll gain the access to actually focus on something else. So if you want to have a nice zoom in on the product or something that you want to advertise, all you had to do is just put it in front of the camera, and unfortunately this thing gets confused if you have a tracking enabled. So you probably want to kill that as well. That way you'll be able to focus properly. So let's try that. But the problem with this approach is that every time you showcase a product or something, you have to obscure your face. Even though that the focus for the face is disabled, the camera will try to focus on your face no matter what is in front of it, which is, frankly speaking, annoying. In the companion app, the camera brings a couple of extra features, including manual focus if you want to switch to that, HDR mode if you have a strong light behind you, and the ability to remove grain. Now what is missing is the ability to track models or objects. That would be great if you could just focus camera on something and let the camera focus that object instead, even if that means extra software installed on your PC. That way, makers like me could use this camera to shoot not only their face, but whatever they're focusing on or making sure that everything stays in a frame. That's the suggestion, guys, for you. So, how much do you have to pay for it? Well, it turns out a pretty penny, because the camera right now you can buy it for $269, which I know it may seem like a lot, but to get a 1080p camera at 60 frames per second and the microphone, it's gonna set you back anywhere between $100 and $150 anyway, and you're getting this plus motion tracking and ability to go 4K. So, who should spend that much money? Well, I've decided to divide potential consumers into a couple of groups, and let's start with makers, someone like me. Now, if you're enjoying making things with your hands and this is where your focus lies, this isn't the camera for you. Unless, like me, you also make some streams where you would like to focus on what you're making instead of looking at the screen, making sure that your face is in a frame, then you can get this as a complimentary webcam for either your live stream or videos, and you know, just use it this way. So how about YouTubers and live streamers? Yes, that's a definitely great choice. Like I said, 1080p and 60 frames per second is something that they're gonna prefer anyway, and that webcam's gonna provide correct frame rate. This means as a streamer or influencer, you can focus on doing your own thing without worrying about where the camera is pointing. How about performance? Well, it's another yes, because thanks to the camera's ability to capture the sound inside the room quite well and capture your movement around the room, if you have online classes or yoga classes, something like that, the camera will stay with you and you won't have to bother much with additional microphone. This one sounds just great. But if you're looking to get this camera for business purposes, then I would think twice. Why? Well, first of all, 4K isn't really a handy thing unless you're trying to impress someone. You have to consider a couple of things. First, apart from getting a 4K camera, you have to make sure that your broadband is fast enough to upload in that bitrate. Another thing that you'll probably have to think about is the fact that the person watching it has to have a good enough internet to receive this, and B, have to have a computer capable of playing and displaying 4K, otherwise there is no benefit whatsoever. And if you're gonna ask your teammates and workmates, you'll quickly realize that this is not the work computers that they are using for, so you'll be spending money on something that you're really not getting. Instead of that, save yourself $100 or so and get the original OBSBOT without 4K and 60 frames per second, because you'll still get that nice audio, the tracking, and the ability to impress your colleagues without melting their work computers to ground. So moving forward, you're going to see this camera featuring in my live stream. Well, you're technically not going to see the camera itself, but you're going to see the 60 frame per second footage in the live stream, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, it's going to be a permanent fixture above my monitor. So if you are interested, if you go to the description of this video, you're going to find the links to the original OBSBOT Tiny, OBSBOT Tiny 4K, and you'll be able to make your decision there. By the way, I'll list the OBSBOT remote as well, because I think it's a great option for anyone looking for a professional solution. Because let's face it, you shall not pass. It's not the quote you want to give it to your co-workers every time. So big thanks to OBSBOT guys for sending me Tiny 4K so I could talk about it and compare it to previous generation. And thanks so much for watching, guys. And you know the usual drill. You know how YouTube works. I'm not going to explain all that, but if you're interested in what I do and what's gonna be next, then the best to follow me on any given social media, because this is where I share snippets of my work and projects in progress. So do that. I'll see you there. Take care. Bye. Stop following because I started to wave. Yeah, you'll have to be careful with your fingers.